Alright, so New Japan Pro Wrestling is about to reveal the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship belt design. We've known for the last few weeks that they are getting rid of the IWGP World and Intercontinental Championship and unifying them to create one grand belt. And many fans like myself are not a fan of it. But I would like to believe that if they are ridding away with two prestigious, beautiful, mind you, looking championships, they're going to give us something beyond astronomical, something beyond outstanding, something that is so beautiful that it's going to make us forget. Well, I mean, maybe we won't forget, but it'll dimmer down on the hatred for the unification of these championships. So that's all I myself am trying to find a positive in the situation. Now hopefully the belt design looks good. So let's see how this belt design looks, shall we? Boy, look at this ugly ass championship, bro. Penny nickel dime head ass. You can look, but you can't touch. Divas championship head ass. Go go Power Rangers head ass. Burned Infinity Gauntlet head ass. $20 Invicta watch head ass. My mama said when I was younger head ass. Wonder Woman head ass. Transformers robots in disguise head ass. Looking like one of those prizes you win at a high school carnival. Looking like one of those prizes you win at the goddamn circus. Shit, that championship basically is the goddamn circus. Looking like a high school class ring. Looking like if you combine the JFK and Sacagawea coin. Looking like the inbred of a UFC and boxing heavyweight championship. And not a good one either. Looking like one of them championship belt toys you will find for $50 at Walmart. Y'all remember back in the day when Medusa left WWF to show up on WCW television with the WWF Women's World Championship and threw the belt in the trash? Well, 20 something years later, they actually took the components and the material of the trash bin itself and used that material to make this garbage ass championship. And why does the championship look smaller than the predecessor, looking like the older brother of the AEW Women's World Championship? Alright, y'all, I'm done. Let me stop. To be honest, I don't think the championship looks that bad. Could be better, but it don't look that bad. But I think Brad Maddox might have on the wrong championship. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Tyler-kun Williams, aka Tyler Suplex, aka Suplex with two O's, SOOPLEX on TikTok, aka the one who lived. And welcome back to the 40th edition of the Chill Spill podcast. And that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like TVSI is when I sent them these emails regarding this video. So, for those of you who heard the intro to the video, you may have actually heard that intro already because it was a video I posted to the Tyler Mask YouTube channel, my secondary YouTube channel. I posted a video called IWGP World Heavyweight Championship Belt Design Reveal Reaction, something along those lines. I posted my reaction to it. Now, in that reaction video, I didn't just do, me showing my face and that's it like I do in all my other New Japan Pro Wrestling videos. I decided I wanted to test some waters. It's been a solid going on, we're about to literally be going on almost a year and like a few months since my channel was put in jeopardy. Well, it wasn't put in jeopardy. It was impending deletion by TBSI. We're coming up on almost a year from that time. Back in like July. I mean, we're like about to be in April, but still, we're coming up on that very, very soon. And I figured, well, it's been like 9 months. Let's see if TVSI is still on that bullshit. So what I did was I saw the picture of the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on NJPW World. I screenshotted it and I put it in the video. Now, it was only in the video. It was in the video like 3 times. 3 times. And one of those times, it actually had a logo over top of it, so really only 2 times. And each of those 2 times it was featured in the video, it was only displayed for like no more than 3 seconds. Maybe even less than 3 seconds. And on top of that, there were many other gags. It was a parody. It was a parody comedy video. Falls within fair use. So I said, you know what? At first, I was going to post it to the Tyler-kun Williams channel. I said, if this gets copyright striked, I'm going to be pissed. So let me just upload it to my secondary YouTube channel. Or if I get a strike, it's like, you know what? Whatever. So I posted it to the Tyler Mask YouTube channel at like 12 p.m. yesterday. And I go about my day. The video's getting views. I think it got somewhere close to 500 views. And then by like 10 p.m. that same day, I got an email saying I got a copyright takedown from TVSIE. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Like, I'm not even really that mad about it because I did it on purpose. I wanted to see, like, where we are at with TVSIE and their bullshit. So now I know I ain't even going to try to fuck with it. Like, because my thing was, if this video was going to do, like, okay or well enough, and, like, it would have gotten no copyright strikes, then I probably would have did it again and just see where we're at. Like, just to see where the algorithm is, if they're still doing a copyright strike bullshit or whatever. But they still are. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not even mad that I got a strike, because I already knew there was a chance I was going to get a strike. So I can't be mad at anybody but myself. Yeah, so that video got taken down. But I said the video is not going to go to waste. I'm going to use it as the intro to the podcast. So you guys just heard it there. I just basically roasted the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Also, big fuck you to TVSIE. You know, they could eat a dick. But that being said, guys, this is the 40th episode of the Chill Spot Podcast. We are back here again. We are about 1 week away from WrestleMania 37, taking place next Saturday and Sunday. I can't honestly sit here and say that I can't wait. I'm so excited. This is probably the least excited I have ever been for WrestleMania. Like, the least excited. Like, I don't even think there's really any excitement in general for WrestleMania. Like, there's some matches I'm looking forward to seeing, but, like, genuine excitement, it's not really there. It's not really there. So, I did have a few people ask me, am I going to WrestleMania? The answer is no. I am not going to WrestleMania. I thought about it. You guys know I was thinking about it. But then I decided no because of COVID. And then ultimately because my investment in a product is ridiculously low and I can't constitute paying $200 a night or even less than that a night for a horrible seat to watch this show. It's like, no. And on top of that, I wanted to vacation, you know. Now, I was planning to travel to Tampa for like 4 or 5 days for WrestleMania weekend. Then I said, listen, let's think about this for a second, Tyler. You have these independent wrestling events happening. Most of your favorite independent wrestlers are now signed to NXT. Like, a lot of them I liked are either signed to NXT or they're in AEW. So, there's not really too many independent talents right now that I'm, like, super amped to see at a bunch of these shows. So, I'm already probably not going to be doing a lot of indie run shows. There is no WrestleCon meetup. There is no WrestleMania access. None of that stuff that makes WrestleMania weekend fun is going to be happening, so forget about that. So you already take out the indie events, you take out the WrestleMania access, you're left with TakeOver, which normally I attend TakeOver, but you can't attend TakeOver. There's no crowds for TakeOvers. Well, at least there's no way to get a ticket unless you like live residentially in the area or know somebody who knows somebody. So I'm not going to TakeOver. I can't go to TakeOver. So TakeOver's out of the question. So that leaves SmackDown. I know for damn sure I can't attend SmackDown because of the Thunderdome. Same for Raw. So no Raw or SmackDown. Hall of Fame is probably not going to fan, so there's no Hall of Fame. So that leaves me with just WrestleMania. And I'm not excited. So it's like, why would I go down to Tampa for the weekend? And there's like almost nothing for me to do down there. So it's like, it's a waste of my money and my time to go down to Tampa for WrestleMania weekend. So no, I'm not. Now I'm going to Tampa for a day. I am attending one wrestling event, and that is Joey Janela's Spring Break 5. Now the reason I'm attending that event is because a lot of you know this already, but I've attended a lot of wrestling shows in the last 5 years or so. And I would say, of the many shows I've attended, there's one show that sticks out to me the most. Let me say two, because one of them is Wrestle Kingdom 14, because that was an experience unlike no other. Going to Japan, going to the Tokyo Dome. I would say Wrestle Kingdom 14. The other one, the one that's happened in North America, I should say, sticks out like no other. The atmosphere, the crowd, the matches, just everything just seemed like this is what wrestling is meant to be. It's not it's not like something too overly produced. No LED lights, no over the top, promo segments, nothing. Just fun wrestling and people going crazy in the crowd. Really some goofy stuff in there, funny stuff, bloody stuff. And that show was Joey Janela's Spring Break Night 1. I've never had more fun at a wrestling event in my entire life than I did at Joey Janela's Spring Break Night 1. So I definitely felt like that show really made me into a fan of Joey Janela as a booker, agent, whatever the case you want to call him. And ever since that show, I've really been a fan of GCW. Now, I don't watch GCW all their shows because you have to buy all their shows, and I don't got the money for that. I don't got the funds. I don't got the time to watch all their shows. So I watch, some of the main shows. And the big main show for GCW is Joey Janela's Spring Break. Now, last year, COVID happened, and they still had Spring Break. But they had it in, October, and I wasn't going to travel all the way out to wherever they were. What was it, Illinois or something? I was going to travel all the way out there just to attend Joey Janela's Spring Break during COVID while everybody's, trying to social not. And I'm glad I didn't, because a lot of people from that show actually got COVID, so I'm glad I didn't go. Now, mind you, Joey Janela's Spring Break 4, I wasn't a big fan of the show. Was not a big fan of the show. The only match from the show I can honestly say I like to remember was Lee Moriarty versus Jonathan Gresham, which is still one of my top 20 matches of 2020. But outside of that, I really didn't like the show itself. But I said, if I'm going to be attending Tampa for one day, because I am going to be going to Tampa, Miami, and Orlando. If I'm going to be in Tampa for one day, I might as well attend one wrestling show, and Joey Janela's Spring Break is falling on a Friday, so I'm attending that show. Now, Acid Cup 3 is a tournament happening earlier in the day at the same venue. I'm still debating on if I'm going to attend that or not. Because if I do, that's going to take up literally most of my day from 3 p.m. all the way to I'm going to assume 10 or 11 p.m. I'll be at that wrestling show. And it's I don't know if I want to be there that entire time, but it's not debating on right now. So that's all the plans I'm having for WrestleMania week right now. I know you guys want to know, what are you doing? Nope, it's literally just one show, maybe two, and then that's it. The day after, on Saturday, I'm flying out to Miami. I'm going to hang it out there, do some kayaking, do some walking, lay out on the beach, and maybe catch myself. And this is one of those things too. I'm literally, for the first time in my entire life, that I've really been able to watch WrestleMania, because up until 2014, I was never able to watch WrestleMania live because you had to pay for it for pay-per-view. And I was a young boy. My parents could not afford it, nor did they want to buy pay-per-view. So I didn't watch a lot of WrestleManias. I haven't seen a lot of WrestleManias still to this day. But 2014 was my first year being able to watch WrestleMania. 2015 was my first year being able to watch WrestleMania live. And I've watched WrestleMania live ever since 2015. But now we're in 2021, and I'm talking about maybe I'll watch WrestleMania. And now, if I was not on vacation in Miami, I would probably be a definite yes. I'll be watching WrestleMania. I'll be live streaming and whatnot. But I'm literally going to be on vacation. So I might watch WrestleMania. It's not a priority to me at this point. WrestleMania is legitimately not a priority to me. Because, the important level for that show is just not. The build-up for this show has been so trash. It's been trash. Can you blame me for not being excited or really caring for anything happening on the show outside of maybe Bianca and Sasha, Bobby and Drew, Rhea and Asuka, just to name a few off the top of my head? Can't really tell about any other match on the show that I care about aside from those three matches. But I'll preview that card a little bit later, because we've been looking over and talk about the new matches added. Next week will be our actual official WrestleMania preview prediction show, so that's going to be a good one. Can't wait for that. But we'll talk about the new matches added to the card over the last few days in just a bit. But yeah, that's going on with me WrestleMania week, and I'm only attending like 2 shows, 1 show, and that's it. But outside of WrestleMania, my plans, we'll talk a little bit more about WWE in a bit. Let me hop back on New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is the topic of this video when it started at the intro. The IWGP World Heavyweight Championship has been revealed. You guys all know by now, Kota Ibushi has decided I want to go against the fans. Not quite turn heel, but definitely turn heel in the eyes of hardcore wrestling fans. And unify both the IWGP Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championship. He has in fact done so. It was made official at New Japan Pro Wrestling's anniversary show, I believe earlier in the month, when he challenged El Desperado and he beat him. Kota Ibushi did. And that's when the titles got unified. But now we got an actual championship. So no more World Heavyweight IC Championship, like, period. Like, those championship lineages, history, the belts physically are done. No more. Now we have one belt to unify and signify and symbolize both championships well. And we got the reveal, and fans online were up in arms, hating on the championship, saying, oh my god, it looks like this. I mean, you guys heard me roasting this championship in the beginning. Now, I'm going to give you guys my honest, like, dead ass, because I'll be honest, that whole roasting, that's all played up for comedy and whatnot. I only put in like 30% of how I actually felt about it. Like 70% of it was just comedy. Now, legitimately, how I feel about it, I don't honestly think the championship looks like horrible. Like, there's people online that said, oh, that's like the worst championship I've ever seen. I'm like, come on now. The 24/7 championship literally exists in the same timeline. I mean, you're talking about this is the worst championship you ever seen? Like, all right, bro, calm down. So no, I do not agree. This is not the worst championship ever. It's barely far from being like the least desirable I've ever seen in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But one thing I will say about it is that it just is not better than what we had before. Normally, when you're going from one championship to another, it's an upgrade. It's supposed to be an upgrade physically. I don't really feel like we upgraded much from the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Now, mind you, the IC Championship is really just the World Championship with a white strap. So there is no white strap on this championship. It's just a black strap. So forget about the IC. It's irrelevant now. Black strap, the plate. Now I can't show you a picture because TBSI will strike me again. But the plate is like, and I pretty much basically just said it much, and many people said it much. It looks like the Divas Championship, the way the plate is formed. You can see the Divas Championship. You can see Cody Rhodes' neck tattoo. I even said the Wonder Woman logo because it looks like the Wonder Woman logo from afar. The plate just looks kind of like it designed. And like I said, it's not a bad looking championship. It's just not better than the previous championships were. And then the side plates. Now, I will say the one thing I'm not a fan of are the side plates. The side plates are like these big rectangular things on the side, like for a normal championship, yes. But for the world, like the IWGP World Championship, the original side plates are really just like these, I don't even know what the shape of that is. It's really all these like twists and turns, and it's not, technically it's not a shape. But it's basically just these little nameplates with previous championship holders on it, and I thought it was really cool. But they basically got rid of that for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, obviously, there's only been one world champion, so if they want to do that in the future, they can. They just can't do it now because this is the first of its kind. So, you know what? To an extent, maybe I can understand why they didn't do it. Maybe I can understand why it's just those regular plates. But as of right now, like, if I had to give this championship a rating, I would say 6.5 out of 10. I think the hatred for the championship is far overblown. But I do think that if you were to say, I think that the previous World and IC championships were better championships, I would agree with you. 100%. 110% I would agree with you. But it's not anything worth, like, you know, writing to TBSI or NJPW World and, you know, displaying your display. I mean, I would say so. I mean, people have been doing it online anyway. You could check the latest video on New Japan Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel, the dislike ratio is like so lopsided right now. I just think it's so funny. Japanese wrestling fans in general also are not a fan of the championship either, but a lot of them aren't saying they don't like the championship design. They're just saying they don't like the fact that the IC and heavyweight are gone, which it's going to be an adjustment. I think over time, this championship will grow on me, and it'll probably grow on a lot of you, but it was just so unnecessary. They really did not have to do this. They really did not have to do this, and that's really all I could say about it. I don't think there's really anything to, yell or scream about at this point. It already happened. We have the championship. That's going to be the championship going forward. There is no more IC. So the next best thing is the Never Championship. That's the only active mid-card championship in New Japan. And then the U.S. Championship is active in the States to an extent with Jon Moxley. And then there's the Junior Heavyweight Championship, and then that's it. That's it as far as the singles championship goes. So there's really only 3 singles championships in New Japan right now. The World Heavyweight, the US, and the Junior Heavyweight. I guess you count the Junior Heavyweight in there. And then the Never Upperweight. So 4. But, I don't know. Whatever. I'm done talking about it. So let's stop talking about that. Let's go back to WWE here. Peacock. The newest acquisition. Well, I say they acquired WWE Network, so NBC, there we go. NBC's newest acquisition, being the WWE Network for their streaming service Peacock, has been under fire from a lot of wrestling fans because they've noticed that when they go to the network and they search up certain things, they no longer show up. They've been edited out, they've been removed, they have been nerfed from the Peacock service. 2 of which being the moment where Vince McMahon said the N-word, not ER N-word, but, nigga. He said that at Survivor Series 06 to John Cena, and then he walked past Booker T. Like, I remember that moment happening when I was a child. And then Rowdy Roddy Piper versus Brad News Brown at WrestleMania 6, where Roddy Piper came out dressed painted half blackface, which pretty racist. So yeah, I understand. Okay, so here's the thing about them editing out this type of content. I do not entirely agree with them censoring this stuff. It is history. It happened. You're not going to make fans forget about it. You can't be Men in Black, wave a pen, and then fans, it never happened to them. There will always be there. I will always remember that. Now, I wasn't born when the Roddy Piper Bad News Brown thing happened, nor have I had the knowledge about it, years prior. So I might have never known about it had I been like, 12-year-old Timmy. 12-year-old Timmy may not even known that the whole Vince McMahon saying the N-word thing happened. So to the fans who never knew any of this stuff happened, yeah, you could erase that. You could basically keep them away from ever seeing it. But to the fans like me, the 20-something, 30-something, 40-something-year-olds that have that knowledge, that remember those moments, maybe not fondly, I don't remember them fondly, but still remember them happening. It's still a part of the history of them watching wrestling. You edit it out, and it's like, well, what are you doing? Yeah, it's seen as racist. I can understand why they edit out the Bad News Brown segment. You could say the N-word is racist, so I can see why they edited that out. But why not just keep it on the network and display a precaution, saying that this content may be sensitive to some. Put up a trigger warning. That's what the millennials call it. Millennials and Gen Z, trigger warning. This content may be sensitive to some viewers. It involves, and say what's going to happen. Say what's going to happen. Say what it's going to imply. Say what demographic it will offend. And give an option to skip the segment or to continue. That's really all they have to do. And they could have just left it on. But they decided to completely cut it out. And I'm not going to sit here and yell and scream about it because, number one, I'm black. So it's not like, I ain't going to sit here and be like, oh, I can't believe they kept they took the racist shit off the net. Like, that sounds really odd, saying that out loud. So I ain't about to go to bat for them, go back for WWE here. But at the same time, if this is the beginning, there's more to come. I talked about it on my YouTube channel, Chris Benoit, Will he be edited out of the network? I talked about that in depth on my YouTube channel. It is linked down below, so definitely go check that out if you've not already. But I firmly believe Peacock did this because it offends people. And it is not, they do not want that to represent their company. They even said as much on Twitter. And I understand that. From a business perspective, I understand that. People grow, companies grow. Things that do not align with the practices of the current day. If you don't want people to see that, you don't want people to see that. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to forget about it. Like I said earlier, that will always be there. There will always be those clips circulating on YouTube, circling on Dailymotion, circling on the internet somewhere. But to edit it out, it kind of paints this image as you're hiding something to the rest of the world. And that's where I think they should have just censored it. Like, not censored it. I don't want to say censored it. They could have just put up a sign saying, hey, this is what's about to happen. Skip ahead. I mean, think about it this way. In movies, you know what I mean? They do movies about slavery, movies about the Holocaust. You know what you're getting into with those movies. So that's kind of a different story. But in certain movies, when they show those scenes, those disgusting, gritty scenes, they happen and people get offended by it. But they happen. And you're not going to forget about it. Nor are the producers and the editors and the directors going to go back and say, well, people were offended, so we're gonna take it out. Maybe in the DVD cut, they'll take it out. But they're not going to take it out after you've already seen it. But now that it's happened, and it's already out there, you just kind of reap the consequences. So, like I said, I don't think there's anything really to rant and rave about with this either. Because it's not like they're moving it's not like they're moving like Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. It's a racist moment. So, yeah. They could have went about it a different way. That's how I see it. Also on WWE, I talked about the Hall of Fame earlier. Hall of Fame is coming around for 2021. There have been 4 names announced so far. 2 weeks ago, the first announcement was Molly Holly, which kudos to her. She kicked a lot of ass back in the day. One of the former women's hardcore champions. Her Crash Holly and Hardcore Holly. Mighty Molly. Like, I grew up in an era where women's wrestling was very much beneath the card. Because when I started watching wrestling, it was like 2005, 2006. And I knew of wrestling like back in 01, but I didn't start watching until like 05, 06. So around that period of time, Molly Holly already retired. You had Trish, Lita, Beth Phoenix was just debuting, Tori Wilson, Candice Michelle, Ashley Massaro, rest in peace, Maria Kanellis. Like, you had a bunch of these, you know, hot women doing bikini contests and all that kind of stuff. They were literally treated as beneath. And they always were seen that way for years and years and years and years until the Women's Revolution, which I could credit to like the mid-2010s. And I would say it got better over time. But like 05, 06, that was when, yeah. Now, 07, like, once you came around to, like, 08 and 09, that's when it kind of lessened up. They still had the bikini contests and the mud shows here and there, and they start to focus a little bit more on in-ring competition and actually giving women storylines. I still remember, like, early 2010s watching SmackDown, and Lay Cool was, like, one of the most hateable things about SmackDown. Michelle McCool and Layla feuding with the Divas of Doom. Like, there was a time before the Divas Revolution or Women's Revolution where they were starting to feature women a little bit more. But before then, they weren't treated as such. Now, before like 05, 06, the women weren't still treated as, you know, as high as they were now. But you had Molly Holly, you know, you had women like Chyna. You had those women who would go in there, take bumps from men, you know, sometimes even wrestle men, team up with men, and actually do some of those things. And Mighty Molly, or Molly Holly, I felt like, I don't want to say she led the group because she really didn't, but she was definitely part of that circle, and I think that she definitely deserves that. The next one was Kane, which absolutely Kane deserves a spot. I'm surprised it took them this long, But at the same time, Kane's been active for so long. Like, Kane's been active since what? 1990 something? Like, he was wrestling back when I was born. Kane's been wrestling for over 25 years. So, until he stopped wrestling, I guess it makes sense for him not to go in. And I don't know if he completely retired or not. I know he's the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. But Kane, it was announced on the Bump, WWE's, I don't want to say TV show, network show, The Bump. He was on there with the Bump crew. Undertaker was invited on to formally announce it for him, and it was such a cool moment to see the Undertaker tell Kane he's going to Hall of Fame, and then Kane's kind of like stunned into silence. Damn near almost cried, both me and Kane. And he was so grateful for the Undertaker to induct. And I seriously hope that now that the Undertaker is retired, quote unquote retired, that we can actually see Mark Calloway be the one to induct Kane. I don't know who else can induct. Let me talk about Mighty Molly. Who can induct Molly Holly? I think it's obvious. I would go with Hardcore Holly. Either Hardcore Holly or Victoria, like somebody from the women's era, or Hardcore Holly, because Crash Holly sadly passed away, so it can't be him. But Hardcore Holly. For Kane, it should be the Undertaker. Now your second person will be Paul Bearer, but rest in peace, he's no longer with us, so it can't be him. Outside of Undertaker, who else could it be? Big Show maybe, but like, you can't do Big Show because he signed AEW, so it's not gonna be Big Show. Like, who else had like a big feud with Kane that will make sense outside of the Undertaker? I really can't think of one. So Undertaker makes the most sense. So now that he's retired, I would like to see the Undertaker, not in the garb. I don't want to hear gong. I just want to see Mark Calloway, suit and all, no hand tape, no boots, no jacket, no hat. Just come out there, suit and tie, give it an induction. That is something I would literally drops and go see. I would love to see Undertaker out of character giving words for Kane, Glenn Jacobs. Now I do not watch the Hall of Fame. I find it very boring. Now, I respect all the men and women who've gone in, but I personally find it boring. I don't really care for it. But Kane is somebody who I've watched since like literally day one. He is my cousin's all-time favorite wrestler. So I would, without a doubt, if they announced Undertaker to induct Kane, I would watch it. Just for that. Now, after Kane is Eric Bischoff. Booker, runner, showrunner, whatever you want to call him, for WCW back in the day. A big figurehead and booker for WWE after that point. He was a GM of Monday Night Raw for a period of time. And just recently, he was leading the writing team on SmackDown before he got let go like 3 or 4 months later. Eric Bischoff warrants a spot in the Hall of Fame. Who should induct Eric Bischoff? I mean, any WCW guy could induct Eric. Maybe Goldberg can induct Eric Bischoff. Goldberg. I would say Vince McMahon, but yeah, you could, because they had the whole handshake thing and their rivalry for a period of time. You could do Vince. Vince can induct Eric Bischoff, but he wouldn't be my first choice. Goldberg, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Ew. There's a few names in there. Now, after him was the largest one. The Great Khali. You didn't think I meant like larger in status, right? I meant larger in size. But the Great Khali, who debuted in WWE in 2006. I still remember his debut. I watched SmackDown the day that he debuted. He came in, this gigantic 7'4" tall Indian guy came in, clobbered The Undertaker, beat down all these guys, and just left such a huge impression. I was legitimately scared of the Great Khali when I was younger, because I'm just like, this dude looks like he can tear. And I'll remember to the day I die, there's this episode of SmackDown, and I think it might have been like 2009 or 10. Like, at that point in time, I was like maybe like 12, 13 years old, whatever. But it was this episode of SmackDown where the Great Khali faced Rey Mysterio. Now, a lot of you probably know where I'm going here. He faced off against Rey Mysterio. And he squashed Rey Mysterio, of course. But I will never forget to the day I die, because there was this move Great Khali started doing at this point in time, which was the vice grip, where he would take his gigantic ass hands and he would wrap them around your head, and it would look like he's squeezing. It would literally look like he's squeezing your head together. It would look like you're about to die or some shit. Now, he did this to Rey Mysterio, who, mind you, Rey Mysterio is coming up to this guy's, like, crotch area. That's how fucking short he is. That's how fucking tall Great Khali is. And he's doing the vice grip. And I don't know if, but he probably had to. Popped in a blood pill or something. But Rey Mysterio starts bleeding from the mouth like he's about to die. And I literally was traumatized for about a week or so, because I thought Rey Mysterio died. So that will be forever how I remember the Great Khali. That and his feud with Batista. And his semi-feud with, I guess, the Big Show. But the Great Khali is a humongous star in India. In terms of film, wrestling, whatever. He's almost like treated like a deity over there. So going into Hall of Fame, is it warranted? I mean, mainly for his size and his appeal and his recognition, because when you see this man, you know that is the Great Khali. Many wrestling fans, non-wrestling fans, have either heard or seen the Great Khali. Now, if they've seen him wrestle, I don't know about, but I'm sure they have seen or heard of the Great Khali. So, for that matter alone, yeah, I could say he definitely may deserve a spot in there. Who inducts the Great Khali? I think the first name I think of maybe is like, I want to say Jinder Mahal, because he managed the Great Khali for a period of time. Jinder Mahal, what's the other guy's name? Who was the original guy who was like, is it like Ranjan Singh? I think that was the guy who originally managed the Great Khali, like Ranjan Singh. I don't even know what he's doing these days. I think he still works with WWE. He just does backstage stuff. But Ranjan Singh, who else? Who had like this really big feud with the Great Khali that, you know, make a lot of sense? Because Lord knows Great Khali never had a good match to save his damn life. I guess. Well, it can't be. I was about to say The Undertaker, because I remember that feud, but it can't be him because he's inducting Kane. So, man, Batista? No, Batista has to go in at some point, so it can't be Batista, and he said he's not coming. So, yeah, Ranjan Singh or Jinder Mahal, I guess, will be next. And then lastly, they announced a couple days ago, Rob Van Dam. And Rob Van Dam absolutely earned the right to be in the Hall of Fame. This dude was an ECW legend. All the matches and wars he had down there. He revolutionized a lot of the high-flying action we know in North America today. Like, I would go as far as to say that I don't think a lot of high flyers would be where they are if it wasn't for the innovative moves that Rob Van Dam was doing back in like 1999, 2000s, like wrestling. Rob Van Dam was really that fucking guy. He was no luchador, but like the way he was able to seamlessly flip around the ring and do those high angle kicks, and you can say whatever you want about my opinion here, but I am a firm believer that Rob Van Dam has one of the greatest frog splashes of all time. I will go as far as put his over Eddie Guerrero. Like, don't get me wrong, Eddie Guerrero will always go down as like the greatest of all time. And he had a great frog splash. But he did not have the best frog splash of all time. I believe that goes to Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam will get height. Rob Van Dam will get, like, you know what? I can't say all time. Personally, I liked Rob Van Dam's more than I like Eddie Guerrero's. And that's just how I see it. But just for all the wrestling and the feuds, this dude at one point held the ECW and WWE championship at the same time. Before he got like busted for drugs, and then he had to like basically drop both, and then he never got back to that spot again. But this dude was on top of the world for a period of time. Like, he was really going at it. And I can't really pinpoint like that one great Rob Van Dam match is more than I can like a sequence of really good Rob Van Dam spots, moments, and, you know, some matches thrown in there. But who would I say can induct Rob Van Dam into the Hall of Fame? Who would be a good guy to induct Rob RVD? You know, I would say Kane, because they had a nice like little mini feud for, I can't say mini, but they had a nice feud in like 03. That was when Kane unmasked. Now it's a pivotal part in Kane's career was with Rob Van Dam. So I would say Kane, but Kane's going in. Won't be John Cena. Would it be an ECW guy, maybe? Maybe Tommy Dreamer. Well, Tommy Dreamer's wrestling for Impact, so it wouldn't be Tommy Dreamer. I don't know. I mean, it could be a lot of guys. Paul Heyman. I think Paul Heyman sounds like probably the most ideal guy to induct Rob Van Dam. Definitely Paul Heyman. But now that we're done talking about the Hall of Fame, let's talk about some more SmackDown, which is happening before the Hall of Fame WrestleMania weekend. This week on SmackDown, we'll see the appearance of social media star, I would even say bigger than pro wrestling in terms of fandom, Logan Paul. Yes, the Suicide Forest Logan Paul. Nate Robinson Logan Paul. That Logan Paul. He will be on SmackDown. He had some Twitter exchanges with Sami Zayn. It's relatively nice ones, I should say, that led to this. So Logan Paul will be on SmackDown as part of a Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens segment. Logan Paul being on WWE television is just like, it's not, I don't want to say it's shocking to me, but it's like, wow. Like, Logan Paul is a big star. Like Logan Paul is a big guy. Not physically, but he's a big guy on social media. Like, I know who Logan Paul is. I can't say I was ever a fan of Logan Paul, but like, I've known who Logan Paul is since like almost 10 years now. Like, back in 2012, when Vine was kicking off, Logan Paul was doing Vine. Like, I knew who Logan Paul was for like the last 10 years going on. Logan Paul has been in a lot of controversy. Logan Paul has done a lot of very bad things. But I am a firm believer that people change. And Logan Paul, over the last few years, he's definitely shown some maturity. He hasn't done a lot of controversial things. He has a new podcast, Impulsive, which I can actually credit WWE to this because they did the reverse effect. They didn't make me want to watch SmackDown. They made me want to watch fucking Logan Paul. Because I actually listened to an episode of Impulsive. For like the first time in my life, I listened to Logan Paul's podcast. And the guy just comes across as, don't get me wrong, he still sounds like a fucking meathead. He still sounds like one of those jock guys, you know, with his frat boys. He still sounds like that. He still comes across to me as that. But he doesn't come across to me as the reckless one anymore. Now, I don't know what Jake Paul's up to these days, but Logan Paul seems like he's matured. I'm not going to say we need to pretend that he never did any of the things he did in the past, because that definitely should be held accountable for those type of things. But Logan Paul, from my view, seems like he has changed. So the fans saying, oh, don't pull Logan Paul in this, it's like, well, I don't see why not. Now, we also do have the audience that says, Logan Paul is a draw. Logan Paul is going to bring in this new influx of fans. He's going to be the new boost for WWE. Because, of course, Shaquille O'Neal was such a big boost for WWE, for AEW, when he was on Dynamite last month. Such a big boost that ratings fell after Shaq was done. So Logan Paul obviously is going to do big numbers. Now, obviously, there's two different audiences there. Shaquille O'Neal brings a football audience. You know, football audience is usually like 30 and older, maybe some younger. But Logan Paul really has the younger audience that WWE is looking for. A lot of those TikTok fans, YouTubers, Twitch streamer, followers. A lot of those people who are within that teenage, early 20s range are Logan Paul fans. Social media people. So here's what I will say about this. I think it is clever on WWE's end to get a social media star involved. Because here's why. Logan Paul will go on WWE, and if he does even anything remotely crazy or says anything crazy, guess who's going to cover it? All the goddamn YouTube drama reporters. Keemstar, Sloan, Kavos, All the motherfuckers are going to be right on it, talking about what Logan Paul did. I mean, some of them might cover it. Some of them may be like, I don't fucking care, it's WWE. But some of them will. And when they cover it, guess what that will do? That will get a lot more fans to know, hey, Logan Paul was on this episode of WWE. Maybe I'll check out SmackDown. I'll check out the segment that and here's where fans got it fucked up. Here's where fans got it real fucked up. Because they think that this is going to be the next boom period for wrestling. Logan Paul is going to bring in this influx of fans. Logan Paul might get some fans to watch him in that segment, but he is not going to get fans to stick to watching wrestling. Fans are not going to be like, you know what? I like, let's just imagine I just showed my friend Logan Paul segment with Sami Zayn. They're not going to turn to me and say, you know what, Tyler? You got me, bro. After so many years of you recommending these matches to me and me saying no, you got me. Because I'm a big fan of Logan Paul, you know that. So I tuned in and I watched it with you. And man, that had to be the most funny, catchy, some of the best stuff I've ever seen in my life. And you know what? I might even watch the rest of this show. I'll take it a step further. I'm going to watch SmackDown. I'll take it a step further. I'm going to subscribe to Peacock. I'll take it a step further. I'm going to start watching wrestling on a weekly basis. And it's all because of you. Thank you. I'm going to recommend this to all of my friends. Wrestling fan or non-wrestling fan. Now, I'm a little bit dramatic there, but that is a fallacy. That is not going to be the majority of people who tune in to watch this show. Logan Paul might get some of his fans to tune in for him and him alone. And then when his segment is over, unless he is on next week and the week after, and he is on a WrestleMania, they will tune out and they will not tune back in. Because guess what? WWE is not good. It is not good. And it hasn't been good for a long time. Fans will tune in. I mean, non-wrestling fans will tune in. They'll realize this. They'll realize, wait a minute now. Logan Paul is no longer on my TV, and this is kind of fake. Why do I care about this? And then they'll stop watching wrestling as soon as they even thought about the possibility of starting it. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I think fans are playing this up a little bit too much. This is not going to be the next boom period. This is not going to carry fans over. You might get some. I'm not saying that none of them will start watching wrestling, but this conception of millions or even hundreds of thousands, no, not gonna happen. But I will tune in for the Logan Paul segment just to see what happens. I am almost certain he will be at WrestleMania because they're having Bad Bunny on one night, Logan Paul on the other night. Makes the most sense to me. So I imagine he'll be probably in Sami Zayn's corner. He might do a bump at WrestleMania or something. Maybe he'll be a special guest referee. I don't know. But Logan Paul, ladies and gentlemen, kudos to him. Kudos to him. Let's also talk about AEW real quick. WrestleMania weekend, we're just on that topic. They're holding a show. AEW is WrestleMania weekend. Now, you might be thinking, oh, they're holding Dynamite WrestleMania weekend. That makes sense because, you know, it's Wednesday. They need to hold a wrestling show. But no, not just on Wednesday, but that Friday. The same Friday as SmackDown. The same Friday as Joey Janela Spring Break. AEW is running a non-televised show. Not for YouTube. Not for TNT. It will just be for the fans in attendance. The show is called AEW The House Always Wins. I like the little play off of Double or Nothing. That, you know, Double or Nothing, the house always wins. You know, keeping that Vegas poker chip vibe. I like it. It's gonna be still at Daly's Place. Tickets went on sale. I don't think they've sold out, but tickets already went on sale or going on sale very soon. And the show will take place Friday the 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I saw fans who were saying, oh, AEW said they would never, ever do this. They're a bunch of liars. And tagging Cody like, you said you would never do this and da-da-da-da-da. Yo, come on now. Let's not sit here and act like people cannot fucking change their opinion, their stance. I can't stand when fans do that shit. They act like you're not allowed to grow as a human being. You're not allowed to make different decisions. Once you say one thing, it will always stay that way for the rest of your life. Now, I'm not saying don't stay true to your word ever. But what I am saying is, if I say I hate chocolate one day, and then 2 months later I decide, well, I really like chocolate now. Maybe I had chocolate that actually tastes good. Or maybe I've been, I don't know, let's say had bad chocolate. But this time I actually had good chocolate. Oh, I like chocolate now. Now you're going to be like, oh, well, you said you hated chocolate 2 months ago. Don't come here now with It's like, bro, I can't evolve. I can't have a different opinion. Like that shit's always just really weird to me. So yes, they did say once upon a time they would never hold house shows, but here they are holding a house show. Oh my God, let's rake them over the coals. Let's send them to the stake to be burned because they're a bunch of witches. Calm down. Anyway, then we also heard about, they're counter-programming SmackDown. They're trying to counter-program WWE on WrestleMania weekend. Dude, they literally WWE counter-programs AEW like every chance they get. Every chance they get since the Wednesday Night War started, they counter-programmed AEW. So I don't want to hear this, oh, well, you guys can't do it to them because... No. Fair game. Fair game. And then, of course, but it's WrestleMania weekend. You can't do that. You're piggybacking. Is it really piggybacking when every other wrestling promotion in the entire fucking universe does a show WrestleMania weekend, the same city as WrestleMania every year? Is he piggybacking? You can say that, yes. But it's also smart. If you're a wrestling promoter, you should be where all the wrestling fans are. And wrestling fans tend to travel to one area once a year. And that is for whatever city WrestleMania will be in. So as a wrestling promoter, why wouldn't you do a show WrestleMania weekend? I don't see... Fans tend to not think about this logistically. Like, logistically, it makes sense for them to do a show WrestleMania weekend. I don't get it. So I don't have a problem with any of this. I don't have a problem with any of this at all. One thing I did hear listening to my favorite podcaster, the Silent Monster Sounds Off, shout out to him, is that he followed the idea that the reason they're holding this show the same day as Joey Janela's Spring Break is basically so that AEW, Tony Khan, could keep his talent from working Spring Break. Spring Break is booked, essentially, by Joey Janela. So Joey Janela would, get some of his guys, some of his best friends, good buddies, to work that show. I mean, last year, we were going to have Jurassic Express. We were going to have a few guys from AEW at Joey Janela's Spring Break 4 last year until it was canceled. So, with COVID, Tony Khan is preventing his roster from working that because they don't want them to go there, possibly contract COVID and bring it back to the Raw. I get that. I get that, and I don't hate Tony Khan for it at all. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. Let's say Sonny Kiss were to work a show at Joey Janela's Spring Break. Bunch of fans there, not social distancing, not wearing masks. I hope not, because I'm fucking going, and I will be. But, not following the rules. Sonny Kiss contracts COVID, brings it to AEW, goes to work at AEW next week, and now the roster has COVID. So, to prevent that, he doesn't want his talent working that show, so he's doing his own show and giving his talent a payday. Can't hate him for it. I mean, he could have been like WWE, like, you're not attending that show. But instead, he's holding an AEW show where they will get paid. So, how can you hate this? I don't. But on that show, there's a few matches were happening. Orange Cassidy is going to be on that show, wrestling to be determined. You have a Battle Royal for a TNT Championship shot later in the night. Lance Archer, Scorpio Sky, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, QT Marshall, The Butcher and the Blade, Dustin Rhodes, Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn, 10, and Colt Cabana on the Battle Royal. You have Jurassic Express versus Dante Martin and the Pinnacle. Jurassic Express and Dante Martin versus the Pinnacle. There we go. Jade Cargo in action. You have Hikaru Shida, Tay Conti and Red Velvet versus Ali, Nyla Rose, and Britt Baker, which I think is like the same match happening tonight. Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa versus Matt and Mike Sydal. You have Cody Rhodes versus Ethan Page. You have the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus Triangulo de la Muerte. Death Triangles, Pac, Pena, Ezra Miedo, and Rey Fenix. And then the TNT Championship will be defended against the winner of the Battle Royal earlier in the night. So, I mean, it's a solid card. That's definitely a Dynamite-worthy card, in my opinion. And I'm sure whoever goes to watch that show, they'll be satisfied. Do I think the championship will change hands? I'm going to say no. You know, if you wanted to do like a shocker, oh, the championship changed hands on a house show, that would be cool and all. But if you don't have plans to do house shows in the future, I think it's a waste. I think unless they're doing house shows going forward, I would not change hands. Because usually when titles change hands on house shows, it's to add to the factor of, oh, anything could happen on a house show. So don't think because we're not on TV that stuff can't happen, titles can't change, moments can't happen. That's usually why people do title changes on house shows. But if this is their first and possibly only, I think it would be dumb. So no, Darby will retain against whoever wins. But now, outside of AEW, Dynamite tonight is having a show. Now, by the time you hear this, Dynamite might be over, and I'll be talking about it next week. But tonight, we're having some matches. We have Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid. So, the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid are back at it again this week. We have Miro and Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor in an Arcade Anarchy match. For the love of God, I hope this is their last match and the feud will be over. It's been going on long enough. I'm over it. We have Jon Moxley and Cesar Bonini. Well, guys, to get the predictions here. I'll go with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers to beat Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid. And I'll go with Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy to win the Arcade Anarchy match. We have Hikaru Shida, Tay Conti versus Nyla Rose and The Bunny. I'll go with Shida and Conti to win. And I'll lead up to Conti and Shida maybe next week. Jon Moxley versus Cesaro. Oh my God. Cesar Bonani. I'll go with Jon Moxley to win. And they have two key matches here. You have QT Marshall versus Cody Rhodes with Arn Anderson as a special guest referee. Cody Rhodes will obviously win this match. And then Christian Cage will be making his in-ring debut against Frankie Kazarian. Christian Cage obviously is winning this match. The question is, will he put out the challenge to Kenny Omega after the match? Because remember, when Christian Cage came into AEW, he didn't attack Kenny Omega, but he made it very clear he's going after the AEW World Championship. Now, Kenny Omega, I will say, has been very directionless since losing to Jon Moxley, beating Jon Moxley at Revolution. He's been picking fights with the Lucha Bros, picking fights with the Sydal brothers, picking fights with Christian Cage. He wants to fight everybody, but then again, it's like, oh, well, I'm doing this in Impact. Like, Kenny doesn't know what he wants to do. It's just like a weird place for him right now. So maybe after this, Christian will set his eyes with Kenny Omega. And I'm not saying the second match should be Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship, but it'll maybe make things more clear for what's coming in the future. But all that outside the way with Dynamite, let's now go into WrestleMania matches that have been added to the card in the last week or so. So we've had 6 matches added to WrestleMania. Of course, as the week goes on, going into next week's show, which will be the big preview show for WrestleMania. We'll have more matches added, I assume. We had Asuka versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. That's going to be exciting. You have Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. This is Cesaro's first ever singles match on a WrestleMania card since his WWE debut. Fucking ridiculous. But I'm happy for him, and it should be a really good match. You have Big E versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental Championship. Hasn't Apollo Crews lost like all of his IC Championship matches? Like, how is he getting this match? Like, I understand Apollo Crews is a heel now, and he needs somebody to fuel Big E, but this man has literally lost to Big E like 4 times already. 4 times already. I think this should be his last championship match ever if he doesn't beat Big E at WrestleMania, which he should be, but I'll talk about that next week. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, which I talked about briefly earlier, which may involve Logan Paul. Matt Riddle versus Sheamus for the U.S. Championship is now official. And also, Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman in a steel cage match. Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman have had quite the feud going into WrestleMania. Exciting. Now, WrestleMania is next week. This coming Sunday are 2 big shows. One for New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is Sakura Genesis, which I previewed last week, so you can watch that on, or listen to that on the last week's episode. But also on that day will be Stardom's Yokohama Dream Cinderella show, one of their bigger shows of the year as well, which I'll be previewing here before we close out of the podcast. So we have about 7 matches confirmed for this show. The first being Azumi versus Hina versus Lady C. Should be good. Azumi wins. We have Momo Watanabe of Queen's Quest versus Mina Shirakawa of the Cosmic Angels. Mina's returning from injury. I think she broke her nose or did broke something in like her face region. But she's back, so good for her. Can't wait. She probably will win because Momo's a jobber now. The next match we have is Unagi Sayaka of the Cosmic Angels versus Saya Kamatani of Queen's Quest. Unagi won the All-Star Dream Rumble at their last Cinderella show, so she's definitely prime for another big win if they want to build her up for something. But Saya Kamatani also came off a big loss on that show, so maybe this is her redemption match. So I'm going to go with Saya Kamatani to win this match, but it can go either way. Next up, we have Gokujin Death, Hanan, Starlight Kid, Saya Ida, and Mai Iwatani of Stars versus Rina, Ruka, Saki Kashima, Konami, and Natsuko Tora of Oedo Tai. I don't really care much for this match, honestly, but I'll go with Stars to win. Now we have 3 championship matches on this show. Now the placement of these matches, I'll say it before or later. But we have Tam Nakano defending her Wonder of Stardom Championship against Natsupoi. I'm super excited for this match. Natsupoi has really impressed me a lot since she came into Stardom. She had one of the best matches on the show against Azumi at All-Star Dream Cinderella on the pre-show. I think her and Tam are going to kill it. Natsupoi is currently the high-speed champion, so I don't really think she needs to beat Tam Nakano. Nor should she beat Tam Nakano, so Tam Nakano will retain the championship. The co-main events will be Utami Hayashishita defending her World of Stardom Championship against Bea Priestley. The same Bea Priestley who just took a Oscutter from Will Ospreay at the New Japan Cup Finals. It should be Utami Hayashishita retaining. Bea Priestley is a former World of Stardom champion, so I wouldn't put it past them. I'm not saying it's a probability or a high probability, but Bea Priestley, realistically, could win the championship back. But I think Utami will get some more mileage out of her reign, and she will retain the championship. Now, the main event of the evening. Get ready for this one. Himeka and Maika defending their Goddesses of Stardom championships against Julia and Shiori. Oedo Tai versus Oedo Tai. That is your main event. Now, listen here. I don't have an issue with either 4 of these women. I like Maika. She's improved a lot since she came into Stardom. I've always liked Shiori. And Himeka's growing on me. Now, I like Julia in the ring. I think Julia has a badass look. But one thing I am really starting to hate about Julia, not about her herself, but her booking. I am becoming so eagerly enraged and just detested by just how fucking heavy Stardom loves Julia. They pushed this woman. Like, you heard about skyrocketing somebody. I mean, they punt kicked her ass to the moon. Like, since day one, she's been featured in main events, co-main events, top spot, championship matches. Hell, I think she's faced off for like every championship in Stardom so far. She's faced off for the goddesses today. Like, you know, this weekend she is. She's faced off for the Wonder, which I'm honestly surprised she didn't hold on to it longer, but she did win that, and that's how Tyler-kun won it. She faced off for the SWA when she was the Wonder Stardom champion. She faced off for the, and won, initially, the, what's it called? The Artists of Stardom championships. The only thing she has not won, and I think she's contested for this already, is the World of Stardom championship. And my thing is, if y'all gonna push it like this, put the fucking world title on her, bro. Just, like, this is what makes me mad. It's like, they obviously want to make this woman the star of the show. They obviously want to make this woman the poster girl, the ace of the company. But they will not do that. Instead, what they will do is, they will put her in the main event over your world champion. They will put her over top of your main eventers. They'll have her go over the main eventers. And then they'll put her in the top spot week after week. Every fuck week, but she's not the ace. She's not the world champion. Like, bro, either shit or get off the pot. Put the fucking title on her or stop pushing her like she is the champion. That's what makes me mad. It's not even the way they're booking her. It's how they're booking her above everybody else. You have Utami Hayashishita. She won her championship back in what? She won it back in back in October against Mayu Iwatani. On that same show, you had Julia face off against Shiori in a double title match on the co-main event, but it was still a double title match. You could even say arguably more important than Utami and Mayu was. Then shows after that, who's in the main event? Julia. Sometimes Utami and Julia, but mostly Julia, because she's the Wonder Stardom champion, you see. And the Wonder Stardom champion in Stardom main events the show sometimes. Fair enough. But noticeably, it main events more when Julia was the champion. Here we are. You get to All-Star Dream Cinderella. And the main event is not Utami versus Saya Kamatani. Not the World Championship, but the Wonder Stardom Championship. Now, arguably, and I will agree with this, that match warranted being the main event, Tyler-kun and Julia, because of the storyline, because of the stipulation of the loser gets their head shaved. That warrants being the main event. But it does not add out the fact that Julia main evented over the World of Stardom champion. This will now be the second big show Stardom is doing where Julia is main eventing over the World of Stardom champion. It's getting ridiculous. Really ridiculous. And on top of that, it's an all Oedo Tai match. All Oedo Tai. Like, it's not even just Julia. They pushed all these women to the top. But Julia is the biggest culprit. So, I don't hate Julia. I think Julia is a good wrestler. I feel like Julia is in the Roman Reigns spot, where she's not bad, but she's shoved in your face so much you don't want to fucking see her anymore. It's like, bro, get, like, you're there all the time, every week. Go somewhere, please. Or move down the card a little bit. But please get the fuck out of the main, like, why is she in the main event for the god? Like, what can you explain to me about Himeka Maika versus Julia and Shiori warrants it being the main event of this show? What story do these four women have outside of a faction warfare match? Does it make sense for them to main event over Utami and Bea Priestley? Please explain it to me, because I don't see it. So I'll add this one more time. If you're going to keep treating Julia as if she is the ace of your company, then make her your goddamn ace of the company. Stop playing around, stop acting like we don't know what the fuck you're doing, and just put the title on her. Just put the title on her already. And if you're not going to put the title on her, then stop putting her over your world champion. Because it's not a good look for you, Tommy, when you do that. It really isn't. And I'm going to end the podcast out right here. I hate to end it out on a sour note, but the whole push of Julia gets on my nerves with Stardom. Like, I love Stardom, but that's the one thing that gets on my damn nerves about that company. That being said, guys, I'm heading out of here. Thank you all for listening again to the 40th episode of Chill Spill Podcast. We'll be back next week for the 41st episode, where, once again, it will be the big preview show for NXT TakeOver, Stand and Deliver, and, of course, WrestleMania 37, both nights. Going to be a big podcast. Can't wait to get it out to you guys. I'm excited for that. And then, of course, WrestleMania weekend. I will not be doing live streams for WrestleMania, but I'll be announcing some content going out that weekend very soon. That being said, guys, love you as always. And I will catch you all next week. Peace out, guys.